Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest issue of Comic Gentlemen, the comic where we use our decades of being giant nerds to discuss the most divisive issues in our fandom. Today, we will be discussing our MCU Phase 4 recap, as well as our look ahead of Phase 5. But first, how were your holidays, Dave?
Good, hectic.
Yeah.
Family, frustrating.
The usual. Sounds like a holiday.
Yeah, there's a lot of words I could associate it with. It's always good to see people, but at the same time, it's always a lot.
Yeah.
Christmas is just a lot.
Any standout gifts? Anything?
Yeah, my wife had actually picked me up by error, mostly on my part, a graphic novel, DC graphic novel called Justice.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Which I think initially when I was like pointing at stuff and like giving her ideas, I thought it was Kingdom Come, which I'd already read and I'd never read Justice, but it was it's I'm quite intrigued to get into that one, and she got me the also the Dark Knight Returns
Nice.
as well.
Yeah,
So,
the old stuff.
yeah.
No,
So
that's
I'm
awesome.
building up some of my credible hardcover graphic novel stuff. Just and mostly it's stuff that I don't read on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So.
The coffee table, like, nice stuff, like you gotta
Yes.
put it out
Yeah.
and show people that you're sophisticated and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yes, I'm a sophisticated
Yeah.
comic book reader.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever that oxymoron a
whatever
little
that-
bit, but yeah,
whatever that is.
for sure. Yeah, no, I feel like all my gifts I got were comic books, which was great. Which is awesome. That's what I wanted, right? And then, like, I was trying really hard because I had a bad habit of whenever I get books, and I always ask for books for Christmas, but I usually read them within like a day. So I was trying really hard to spread it out. I think I got 2 weeks, and then I finished them all. And I was like, I spread it out, guys. Come on. And you got me the TMNT
Yes.
Ronin. So good.
By the way, I got mine back from my brother unscathed.
Nice.
Well, other than the Amazon smashed in corner. Thank you, Amazon.
Yeah, thank you, Amazon.
But so you read that one?
Yeah, I read it. It was really
And?
good.
Yeah.
It was really good. I like you said,
enjoyed
learning which turtle it was
Yeah.
was very like, damn, type of thing. And I thought, and I also, what I really like about it, obviously, not this isn't the topic of the podcast today,
No.
but I loved how much it homaged different things. Like there was like Frank Miller references. There was there's just so many references scattered throughout that book. I thought were so fascinating, and I was just like, yeah, that's a good time. But yeah, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of our podcast today. As you can see from the title, we are going to do a Phase 4 recap of MCU, and we're going to do a look ahead of Phase 5. So we last year did a 2021 recap, so we talked a lot about all the shows from WandaVision all the way down to Spider-Man No Way Home, and then halfway through last year we talked about the first kind of shows in 2022, such as Moon Knight and Doctor Strange. So if you want our deep dives on those, make sure to go back and check out those episodes. But our goal for this podcast is to do like the rest of them, so basically much from Miss Marvel to the Guardians Holiday Special, and then kind of Phase 4 as a whole, what we thought, what were the highlights, what were the lowlights, and kind of what was Disney thinking, and then kind of a look ahead to Phase 5, because we have a bunch of stuff slated for 2023, and then we even have some stuff that they're planning for 2024. Obviously, we'll see what happens. But let's start at the top. What do you think of Phase 4? We're coming out of Endgame and Infinity War, the craziest ending to anything ever.
Yeah.
And then you started getting to this new phase. Obviously, there's a big pause because of COVID and it just delayed everything.
Yeah.
But you get like some
played havoc.
played havoc a lot. But like you started getting the Disney Plus shows. You started getting into Black Widow's the first movie back. What was your kind of thoughts of Phase 4 in general?
In general, I kind of felt like if it wasn't for the TV shows initially, and not that the TV shows were fantastic or just so amazing overall, anyways, but I think they lost steam.
Yeah.
Like it's like they came out of this like absolutely climactic, end game, and then moved into a phase that like they had to kind of reestablish themselves a little bit. But I don't think if they didn't have the TV series which people were very excited about seeing, these six-ish episode shows, I really don't know if it would have, like, it just felt like it started off with a bang, even though the shows across the board weren't amazing. It wasn't their best stuff. But it just seemed like once it got through that, and then the movies started coming out, and you knew that COVID had played a little bit of a part in some of the stuff being delayed and such, that they just started losing steam.
Yeah.
And it just started to drop off. And I don't know if it was a combination of like the characters weren't as interesting, or everybody has Marvel fatigue, or what it is, but it just I felt like it started on a high and then just started petering out.
I mean, I think that's a really great point that you bring up about the what characters they are focusing on in the next phase, because they've used their S and A tier other than the X-Men.
Yeah.
Like they've gone through that list, and now it's really the phase of like what can we do with these B tier heroes and villains. And I think it's interesting because again, if you look at the list, the first shows and stuff that came out in the first quarter of Phase 4 was all characters that we've already seen before. You had Wanda, you had Falcon and Winter Soldier, you had Loki and Black Widow, all heroes you've seen before, and it's all about like what happened to them after Endgame because it's such a pivotal situation. But then after that is when, like you're saying, you're getting to these new characters. So not only do you have to establish them in a world that had the Blip and Thanos, but you also just have to make them likable enough for new people, right? And I think for my general consensus of it is I think the issue was for the new characters like Shang-Chi and the Eternals, they really let them down in the sense of like they reverted almost back to Phase 1.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, it's been 10 years. Like, you can't have that type of schlock anymore. Like, yes, it worked for Phase 1 because people didn't know what to expect and didn't have these expectations. But now that you're getting into Phase 4, you need to, like, new things, update the formula a little bit and keep it going, right?
Yeah, and I felt like there was a lot of, obviously a lot of hype coming out at the beginning of the year with the TV shows that were coming out. And there was a lot of expectation regarding like where's it going, who's the next big bad, like that they're going to follow the same format, which I hope they don't to a degree. Like I hope they don't follow that. Like this is not a like, hey, every 20 years we're going to have this culminate and or every 10 years, however many years it was, we're going to culminate in a big bad guy and then we're going to start all over again. Like I hope they change it up a little because which I don't have a lot of faith in, because I find that the Marvel and the Disney just are formulaic. They have a formula that they know works, and that's what you get. They've branched out a little bit, and we'll get into a couple of shows. I felt like they kind of changed direction a little bit. But I just felt like you came in, and of course you had like Endgame had just finished wrapping up. The Infinity War was there. There was all the speculation on like what is this, what is that. There were tons of hints and all kinds of stuff that were being dropped. And then you moved into a new phase, and there was like all this hype on like, oh, what are the hints going to get dropped here and here? And I felt like, to me, it felt like you were getting trolled a lot by Marvel, because there was just like, there was no payoff on a lot of the stuff that they kind of hinted at the beginning, which frustrated myself. I know it frustrated a lot of other people, but then as it continued to go on, it just, to your point, just wasn't landing right, especially with the newer characters that they were bringing in.
Yeah, for sure. Do you remember when, just before, because obviously we had like 2 years to think about Phase 4, there's the whole speculation about how they're going to have 3 different paths. They're going to have street level, espionage world stuff. They're going to have Galaxy with Guardians and Thor, and then they're going to have Mystical with Wanda and Doctor Strange. I mean, they kind of did those paths, but like you're saying, like they didn't really lead anywhere. No. And maybe they still are going to, but it still feels like they're kind of pushing one day they'll all converge into Kang. Type of thing. Whereas it would be cool if they actually all had their 3 separate, paths and endings, type of thing. So I'm curious to see if they still push that. But that was a big thing before Phase 4. Everybody was like, oh yeah, this is what's going to happen. Feige has, the master plan. And it's going to be great. And then you start watching these movies and it's like, oh, they have no idea where they're doing.
They have no idea. Like, I think at that point especially when the earlier ones were coming out with Wanda, the TV shows, and then flooding into Shang-Chi and stuff, I really don't think they had a plan.
No.
Like they just came out of Infinity, and I think they were like, we'll just question box a lot of stuff. We'll figure it out later.
My other big pet peeve, and I recently just rewatched almost all of Phase 4, especially for the early set movies, they don't talk about the blip enough. No. And that drives me up the wall. So you telling me half the population of the entire galaxy got whipped out in the blink of a finger, and they hinted at it with like Endgame about like, oh, the world's healing and all, and then they just ignore it.
Greg, let it go.
I can't. It's
let it go. Like the people in the Marvel universe, let it go. Like they lost those 5 years.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
They don't even talk about it. Like,
I know it's absurd.
It's absurd. Like they should have. Like I mean, even I think the one that talked about the most was Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and maybe that was the problem, is because they kind of botched it with the whole like, oh, we needed to restructure the world government, but then the end of that show was like, don't worry about it, we're not actually going to do that. Maybe because they botched it, they're like, don't talk about the blip ever again. Like, we're not bringing it up.
It is unfortunate that they didn't, that didn't play a bigger factor into, it could have even played a factor into like why some of the bad guys were the bad guys. Like I think the only one you saw that in was Falcon Winter Soldier, which was a rewrite. Which they had to rewrite, but a lot of the other ones could have had that element in there of like I'm a bad guy because this happened to me after the blip. Yeah. Like they could have tied it in, and they were just like, blip's over.
Yeah, 100%.
Like everybody's pretty emotionally intelligent in the Marvel universe. They just handled that like champs.
Yeah, or they just pretend it never happened. And it's just like, guys, literally for 5 years, half the population, and then they suddenly reappeared. Like that's huge. Like what are you talking about? It blew my mind. Yeah. But yeah, so let's move on to the kind of those shows that we haven't talked about yet. Mm-hmm. Going from that range at the bottom of the list there, what are some standouts? What are some lowlights for you?
Oh, I was really impressed with the Werewolf by Night special. I didn't know what to expect. Yeah. It was short, so we kind of put it on as a like, hey, we got nothing else to do kind of thing, and so we put it on. I was actually very, very impressed. Like the way it was filmed, it was all in the black and white with just introducing some interesting characters, and it just, to me, it was just very different and short enough that you weren't sitting there, okay, God, this is a 2-hour show. It was just a quick hit, and both my wife and I very much enjoyed it. She's not much of a horror genre kind of person, and not that it was overly horror-ish, but like she can't even handle that. We both enjoyed it quite a bit. So that was a highlight for me. I was happy to see Black Panther kind of landed for me. Yeah. I know it's a point of contention on the internet. But it landed for me pretty much like it was as good as the first one-ish, kind of like in that ballpark. Those were the two highlights.
Yeah. I liked Werewolf by Night. I like the fact that they also were trying something different with it. That's a big reason why I liked WandaVision, was because they would try something different. The whole black and white and the whole schlocky 50s movie thing was really interesting. And I'm excited for the specials as like a potential other thing they can do seasonally, right? Like Guardians, I
use it to introduce new characters.
Yeah, well, you know what? I actually disagree with that a little bit, only because like I feel like shows work better for new characters, just because you get a little bit more time and like introducing like why and that. I mean, I can see what you're saying though. There's some characters that like would be fine with one shots.
But the why could be 30 minutes.
That's true.
And they don't have to fight a villain. It's just like, this is who this person is. It could be a way, but it was an interesting format.
Yeah, like Guardians holiday special, I thought was a great way to bridge 2 and 3 going forward.
It was light and funny.
Light and funny, and they focused on somebody other than Star-Lord, so it was a nice change of pace. Yeah. And it was just like my nephews and nieces loved it. It was just a fun
and Kevin
movie.
Bacon is canon.
Yeah, exactly, right? He's officially an MCU hero, so there you go. But like I think it's a great format they can use going forward of like, hey, we have, what's a dumb holiday they can do? Like summer vacation, or like St. Patrick's Day or something like that. Yeah. What heroes are around that we can just plop into this real quick adventure?
Yeah, like a St. Patty's Day with Wolverine, Captain America, just going around drinking.
Yeah, or like another Halloween one with like Blade and like anybody, right? Like it'd be a lot of fun. So I think especially specials moving forward are a big thing. Yeah. Other one that let's talk about disappointments then. Okay. Cool. I guess especially in this one, the biggest disappointment has to be Thor: Love and Thunder. Like what's bigger than Thor?
I guess from an expectation side. Yes. Yeah. Like the expectation, the money. Yeah. The
storyline they were
the storyline they were using. Yeah, that was a big disappointment. Yes, disappointment big. I thought what makes me hesitate was the director slash producer's stance for She-Hulk. And not that I wasn't expecting She-Hulk to knock it out of the park, be like, oh, this is like one of the greatest things ever. It was like, you have to know the character, and if they were going for that John Byrne humor kind of thing, I think they really had to. You had to kind of like that.
Yeah.
So it was always gonna have a niche, but the fact that the producers and the writer, admittedly came out and said we were writing this just to piss off the trolls, I felt like did such a disservice to not only the character but the fans, like the fans who were coming to watch this and say, hey. I'm coming here to see another great Marvel show. This one's supposed to have a lot more humor in it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see where this goes. And it was just like it was just a giant trolling of the internet, angry mob. So I felt like that was your choice. Like you chose to make a movie a TV show, just to piss off a group of people.
Yeah.
Like that to me was like almost as bad as Love and Thunder being so hyped up, especially from Ragnarok being so good.
Yeah.
You got all the same people coming back. You got a much better storyline to work with, and then it just was bad.
Yeah, I wasn't as mad about She-Hulk just because I felt like leading up to the finale it was a decent show.
Yeah, and again I have to separate the show of She-Hulk versus like the show runners of She-Hulk.
That's fair. But freaking, and you can say the same thing about Thor in the sense of like Taika just phoned it in.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you could
big
see
time.
it.
Yeah.
Phone time. Like he's like, hey, I'm famous now, never mind, guys.
How dumb can we make Thor?
Yeah, and like let's revert the character back to zero, type of thing. It's just like, oh my gosh, like what are we doing here? And then Gore, like if you're gonna take one of the best Thor storylines, you gotta make it at least good. Like come on, I was so sad.
Yeah, it was. I'll say it was the top. Definitely just because of the budget behind it. The storyline, the actors that they had in it, like it was just like it had the potential to be amazing, and it just turned into a giant spoofy comedy rom-com that was just horrible.
Yeah, not even funny. Like if you're gonna go for comedy, at least be funny, right?
Like you pretty much saw the funniest moments, I'm gonna say, with the exception of like maybe one or two. In the trailer.
100%, which is terrible. Like, that's the worst you can say for a comedy ever. I do have to eat a little bit of crow. When we talked about Doctor Strange 2, I was a little bit lighter on it because I was like, oh, I can see some things they were doing, it was a little bit schlocky, but it was kind of endearing. You know what? Watching it the second time, hate that movie so much more. It made me so much angrier because America Chavez just screams the entire movie. She's not only a MacGuffin, she's also a stereotypical damsel in distress. It was so disappointing. I was so excited for that character because she's so great in the comics, and obviously they have to get her to that point. Yeah. And she's still getting there. Like they haven't even gotten to there 100%. But it's just like it was so bad the second time. And
the whole Illuminati thing that was thrown in there it was just bad. It was bad. I mean, and especially seeing it was coming off the hype of the Spider-Man movie. It was used as instead of like the after credit scene that you normally see. The after credit scene was the trailer for Doctor Strange, and it was just like, okay, so there's all these infinite worlds, and like, oh, what kind of fun could be going on here? And I mean, we've talked about it before, problems with the movie, but it just it was just not didn't land at all.
100%. So yeah, I had to revoke my my review from that one. So now looking at Phase 4 as a whole, like what are your kind of top favorite movies? What are your kind of top favorite TV shows? What were the highlights? Let's start positive.
Positive would say like I really liked Loki. I'm very much looking forward to season 2. Yeah. I like the character. I like the actor. I like the idea. I know it didn't land with everybody as their favorite thing, but it just had too many check marks for me to say like, hey, this is no good. The good overrid the bad. Yep. But I very much enjoyed that. Outside of that, the Spider-Man one I just recently rewatched again, and I was like, yeah, that was nostalgic. Yeah. And that was pretty much it. It was still great. Like I still find myself like when the two older Spider-Men show up, I still found myself going, oh. oh, because it's nostalgic.
Yeah.
But that's about all that show had. Was nostalgic.
I still think the scene where they fight in the building and he pile drives them through 5 floors is the best thing I've ever seen.
There were some great fight scenes. Like even the end fight between all of them was good. But it just like the overall story of it was just basically like, we really hope you know who Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are. But it was just, again, Loki, really liked it. Moon Knight really caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
There were elements that I just loved about it, and then there were elements that I was just like, like it was still one of my highlights.
Oh yeah. Oscar Isaac, man.
Oscar. Like the first couple episodes where you're like just seeing him flip on a dime, and you're just going, what?
Yeah.
Like this is so neat, so good. And then I really enjoyed the like I just said, the Werewolf by Night, and I thought Black Panther was good considering what they were up against.
Yeah.
If he was still, if Chadwick was still alive, and you had him in that movie, I don't know if it would have been as, I mean, obviously the movie would have been different, but it just, I gave it a lot more of a bump because of the fact that they were up against the fact that he's gone.
Yeah.
And which I think was a huge hurdle to overcome. And plus they had some, a couple things that really felt forced in there by Marvel Studios to like, hey, you have to include these things so that we could move forward with other storylines. Yeah. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, I agree with most of those. I would throw in WandaVision. Obviously, Doctor Strange 2 kind of takes that away because, like, again, where they left Wanda and then Sam Raimi didn't even watch WandaVision,
What I will say about WandaVision, I had zero expectations.
Yeah, fair.
I had zero, and then it very much surprised me. Yeah. Even going back and watching it now, I'm like, okay, now that I know what's coming, it doesn't overly impress me, but what impressed me at the time was I did not expect that.
100%.
Which was good on them. Good on them for coming up with something creative and different.
Yeah, and that's the big reason why I like it. It's just it was so different and tried something new. And then speaking of something that, had no reason to be as good as it was, Black Widow. Like I push Black Widow as like one of the better ones because like it for a movie that probably should have come out 5 years before it did, especially considering how like she's dead and then it's a prequel to the it's such an awkward time to release it.
So bad.
But like Florence Pugh is the best MCU star right now, and David Harbour did really good. I mean, his character kind of got put in the corner, but he was really good. And then like I can't remember the mom's name, but she was also really amazing. Rachel something. But like the whole cast in Black Widow randomly was just like maybe the Taskmaster was disappointing.
Yeah.
But the fact that movie should have been like more of a dumpster fire was impressive. So
for me it was misplaced, and because it was misplaced, it's like I'm already over this character. I'm already over this stuff, and it's like now you're gonna make me what it was just it to your point should have came out before Endgame.
100%. Like it should have been the first female
before Infinity.
Oh, it should be not before Captain Marvel because it should have been the first female-led.
Yeah, it should have been because
Marvel movie.
Yeah, it should have been because she was there from the beginning.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
But no, it was definitely one of those standouts. The Spider-Man. Speaking of Spider-Man, the thing that cracks me up is like I would say after rewatching all the movies, No Way Home is probably the best Phase 4 movie. But it's so fun, so funny to me that it's the best Phase 4 movie, but it relies so heavy on Sony. Like what you're saying, like if you could take the only thing that links Spider-Man No Way Home to the whole MCU is Doctor Strange. But if you just had somebody else to do the magic, like Madam Web or something stupid like that, you could have had the exact same movie without any MCU tie-ins, which is hilarious to me that it was the best Phase 4 movie.
Yes. Yeah. Which I mean is very shocking because previously Sony's track record going forward. I mean, look at Venom and Morbius. Dumpster fires, like they're so bad.
I know exactly.
Yet you somehow managed to have the better part of the influence on a Marvel movie.
I know.
And make it the best. Yeah.
Which I think it's probably just like you said, it's 100% just nostalgia. They 100% relied on it, and it turned out to work.
It worked really well.
It would be curious to see somebody younger or somebody who just never watched those movies when they first came out. Like, did they get out of it the same thing we got out of it because we've been watching since Spider-Man 1 came out?
Yeah.
They'd be curious to talk to somebody like that. So if you are somebody like that, let us know in the comments if it still hit those.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see.
But you had like the scene with Aunt May dying. Like if you like that didn't need nostalgia. Her dying was just so powerful because of Tom Holland, Marissa Tomei, right? So no, I think it could still be good even without the Sony. It's just the Sony elevated it with like, especially Willem Dafoe should have got an Oscar. I think
he was amazing in it. So was Alfred.
Molina
was great in it as well.
Yeah.
I can't say the other guys were great because
Jamie Foxx was bad.
Jamie Foxx was okay, but it was mainly the other two because they weren't actually there. They were just CGI the whole time.
They had to sacrifice somebody, you know. They had a couple of villains. They had to be like, hey, we don't have time for you.
So, but
at least they didn't bring back like Rhino or something.
No. Well, if they would have brought back that Rhino,
I mean, they referenced it, which was funny enough.
I probably would have walked out of the theater.
The fact that they referenced it was funny enough.
But those were the highlights, and there were some that were close. Like I said, I did enjoy Black Widow. I did enjoy Spider-Man. I did. There were other ones that there were moments in the movie that I enjoyed, but overall, it was really those.
To wrap up Phase 4 as a whole, like, in my opinion, it was definitely on the weaker side of the phases. Like, they just couldn't find a tone that really fit for everybody, and there's so many misses in between, not the best of hits, right? So it was just kind of a mid phase. The other phase a lot of people talk about being the worst is Phase 2, because you had Iron Man 2, you had Thor 2, like you had a lot of stinkers that are like pretty big. Like, how would you rank the Phase 1 to 4? What's your thoughts on that?
I would say Phase 4 was by far the worst.
You think so?
Was by far the worst. It felt like you were on a sinking ship. And not a sinking ship in the sense of like, oh my god, Marvel's just completely going under. It was just like a sinking ship in the sense of like, we're just mailing it in with a lot of this stuff.
We know we're going to make money.
We know we're making money. And some of the IPs that they touched on, like Ms. Marvel, really don't follow her. I don't. It's just not a character I follow along with. But it was obviously that it was the character was brought in to attract a different portion of the audience, to try and bring them in and say, hey, like this, it's got something for you too. So like when you do that, you're going to some degree sacrifice some of your fan base, because some people just aren't going to be into those characters, right? Which is fine.
Which is fine.
But when you do that, and then on top of that, you make major announcements in it, like that, oh, she's a mutant. And stuff like that. Like it really shook the fan base that was like not really interested in the character to begin with, to the just going like, oh my god. And I think it was right around Ms. Marvel, you started to see that hate train just starting to gear up, and then it hit She-Hulk and it got worse, and it was just going so bad. All you could find on the internet, all anybody wanted to talk about was just how MCU is going up in flames and everything else. And I don't think it was going up in flames. It just lost some of its viewership because they were trying some characters that were only going to be appealing to a certain audience, which is fine. Like, they deserve a show too.
So you're saying that, but like to me, I don't hear that as like, I wouldn't blame Marvel for that. I would blame the fans for that. Like all the racist, misogynistic assholes who scream on the internet. That's who I blame for that type of stuff.
Yeah, but what I'm saying from an overarching story, like if I'm moving along and you're going to do a Ms. Marvel show, and I don't have any interest in that character, like I just, not that I hate the character, I don't have a problem with the character. I just generally as a fan, just like, not my character. It better not have anything important in it with your bigger picture, because now I have to watch it. Right? Like, and that's what it felt like. It was like, I felt like, okay, I got to watch this because there might be something in here that, ties to something down the road.
I can kind of see that.
To me, it was just, the hate stuff. The only thing that I've got to say about that is, like, Marvel played right into their hands by getting into a little hissy fit with them over She-Hulk. And it was just like, just leave it alone. Just let them be what they are. Like, tune them out like everybody else does, and just continue making, good content.
I think it's a little bit debatable, but definitely I don't know. I think it's a bigger conversation. But, thinking about, like, the other phases, I think you're right. I think this probably is the weakest phase, mainly because it just doesn't have those hits. Like, Phase 4 had some of the shittiest movies. with, you know, like I said, Iron Man 2, Thor 2, but then you had Captain America 2, which was fantastic. You had Guardians of the Galaxy, which was amazing. You had Spider-Man. Like, you had so many hits in Phase 2, it's so hard to put Phase 4 above it.
Well, and they had the luxury of, like, okay, I'm going to make a, you know, even in the other phase, like Phase 1, we're going to make a Captain America movie. Well, people knew who Captain America was. We're going to make a Thor movie. Everybody knows who that is. I think there was a lot of people going like, oh yeah, there is a She-Hulk. You know, like, oh, who's this Ms. Marvel? You know, like, there were a lot of people, even Moon Knight. I bet you there were people like, oh, look, it's a white Batman.
Yeah.
You know, like there were probably a lot of that. Eternals, like,
oh, nobody.
What?
I still don't know who they are. So.
Yeah, like, what? You know, it was just unfortunate that they just didn't have. You know, I think there was a bunch of stuff that played into it. The obviously the pandemic.
Yep.
You were dealing with characters that were lesser known.
Yep.
And then in some cases you were dealing with characters that were beyond, I think, lesser known. They're niche characters that fit a certain market. So that's what they were trying to deal with. Now, you might take some of these characters like Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, and Moon Knight, throw them all on a team and do a movie, and it's amazing and everybody loves it. It just, unfortunately, with those characters individually in their own shows, just didn't land the same popularity as a lot of the other shows. You know, like, sorry, that's just the reality of it. But I don't think that you can point the finger at, say, a Ms. Marvel show and say, like, oh, it was horrible because I didn't like it. It's like, well, it wasn't made for you.
It wasn't made for you.
You know, like, it had a very much a
specific target audience.
Yeah, I'm going to say a child, a very much a not child, but a younger audience in mind. Which is fine. Like, I watched it with that in mind, and I was like, oh yeah, I could see kids enjoying this.
100%, right? Like, I think that's totally fine going forward if they have some of these shows that are made for a specific audience, because that's the point of growing your
if
your
they did
universe,
a Champions, right? Or they did a like a
Young Avengers
power pack or something. You know, if they did something like that where it was just like, it's not targeted at me. It's like, guess what? 40-year-olds, living in their mom's basement still. The entire thing is not for you.
Yeah.
There's going to be IPs that they use and characters that they use and storylines that they use that are targeted at a certain audience.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you kind of mentioned this earlier. What are your thoughts of, like, the Marvel fatigue? Do you think we're just at that point, oversaturation, type of thing, or?
Yeah, because and I think it's because they're not shocking anymore. Like, I haven't watched any of these shows, like even their attempt at hiding the fact that the other Spider-Men were going to be in the Spider-Man movie, which was just, like, in this day and age, not a chance. Somebody's going to leak something, somebody's going to see something, like, it's just impossible. But I think it's the fatigue for me comes from the fact that I'm seeing the same thing over and over again. It's a different color.
Yeah.
But I just see the same formulaic kind of thing plodding along.
Yeah.
And they just haven't done anything to really shock me.
Which is interesting. So, kind of leading into Phase 5 then, speaking of, wanting to be shocked, what are you looking forward to? Are there any that you're hoping really, really shock you? Or you think may shock you? Or what are you feeling for Phase 5?
I'm going to say for Phase 5, I hope Quantumania just meets expectations. Because you've got Kang, great villain. You got a great actor playing the villain. The fact that it's an Ant-Man still just throws me for a loop. But again, Ant-Man, enjoyable. So I enjoyed both of them.
In my opinion, I think Ant-Man 1 and 2 are low-key some of the best Marvel movies.
Yes.
Like, I think they get not as much credit as they deserve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that with that, it's just like a meet expectations, because again, you've got the rumor engine chugging of like, oh, we're gonna get the X-Men, oh, we're gonna get the Fantastic Four, oh, all this stuff's gonna happen. And it's like, I just want it to be a good movie with a good story. And if it happens to throw a couple, tidbits in there of like hinting at other character stuff, like, that's great. Please don't over fan service this. Just.
So the one rumor I heard, it wasn't about that. It was apparently that this is actually really dark. That apparently Jonathan Majors as Kang just murders the shit out of them. And I'm just like, if that's true, that's a surprise. Because compared to like what the other Ant-Man movie have been, like that would be,
the other Ant-Man movies have been like, yes, there's a threat, there's a danger. but it's very laughy, jokey.
It's Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
But so if they like incorporate that darkness and plus still have that Paul Rudd of like my daughter, that type of thing, I think it will be a really good movie. Another one that looks dark, which is surprising compared to old movies, Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah.
That trailer, man. My wife, the second she saw Rocket being sad, she cried. She's like, I can't handle this.
Yeah, and again, you've got a I don't know what it is with James Gunn. It's just like, I want you to give me the encyclopedia of the most unknown villains, and then I will make a movie with that person.
Yeah. What's his name again?
This one is the
Evolutionary. Thank you. High Evolutionary.
Yeah, High Evolutionary. And I think the actor that they got, if you've ever seen any of the shows that he's in, great actor.
Okay.
Great actor. So I'm excited to see where they go with that.
Yeah.
Because there's the trailer. You watch the trailer, it's like, oh, there's some jokes, there's some funny, but then all of a sudden it's like, there's some darkness here.
How many do you think are dead? How many are gonna die?
Oh,
I think half.
Yeah, I think any of the ones that are definitely done playing their character, like Drax,
Batista.
I think is going to be one.
He said he's done, so he's like, don't talk to me.
Well, I mean, you got to get painted and all that crap put on you every time.
And he's sick of his character just being the punchline, is what he said anyways. Is like, this character has so much more depth, what the heck?
Yeah.
And type of thing. I think Chris Pratt's done. Everything I've seen Chris Pratt in since like that Pixar movie he was in, he just been phoning it in. And I think he just needs a break. But now he's in like the Mario movie. He's in so much stuff. And it's like, bro, you can just tell he's like, I don't want to.
That's another one. Like I like Quantumania. Hopefully it like I said, I hope it meets expectations, and I really hope that it firmly puts in place, like, you knew when the Infinity Stones started coming out in the first, you knew that it was, okay, this is leading towards the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then I would like them to just lay out something firm enough, not without just flat out coming out and saying it, but firm enough so you know where the hell this is going with all of the universes and everything else that's there. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, again, I hope it just meets the expectations of the rest of the Guardians movies. They've always been good.
Yeah.
They're just entertaining. Secret Invasion, I'm so fed up with them taking these massively huge events and then making like small like explosions out of them. The only thing that's kind of interesting with this one is, you give me Samuel L. Jackson cursing people out, I will watch the show. So, and I think they've taken more of a like an espionage kind of, spy thriller kind of approach. So, you know what? It worked with some of their other movies where they were like, really? They're going to do that with a superhero movie? And it worked. So who knows?
Yeah.
But not super hyped about it. I'm just kind of like curious.
I think the hard part, kind of like what you're saying, is the best part about Secret Invasion was finding out which major heroes were Skrull. Yeah. And be like, oh, I can't believe Elektra was a Skrull. Or like Spider-Woman.
Well, and the scope of it.
Yeah, the scope of it was huge, right? Whereas this one, it's like, it's so going to be, like you're saying, espionage, which could be good, but it could also hurt it in the sense of like, you're not going to have like, oh, look, Iron Man's a Skrull or something like that. Like those crazy, like you're saying, like the surprise me aspect.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, one of the coolest things in that entire thing was the reuniting of the original Avengers in the sense of Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, who had not been together since Disassembled.
Yeah.
And that was a big moment. That ain't gonna happen in the show.
I mean, the only thing they could do is like maybe like a couple Skrulls pretend to be them for like half a second as like a shout out, but it's not gonna be as. But I have hopes.
A nice little paycheck for those actors.
I have hopes because I think Samuel L. Jackson and Emilia Clarke and like those actors will. And it has the guy from Martin Small. No, what's his name?
Martin Short.
Martin Short. Thank you. Yeah. Like it has some of those big. No,
not Martin Short.
No, what were we talking about? The guy who plays the Hobbit, Bilbo. That's what's Bilbo. It has Bilbo. Martin. That's a movie. That's a movie.
Yes, this is our pitch now. You need to bring Martin Short into the MCU. And you know what? I'm not going to be mad if he drags along his comedic partner in Steve Martin. The two of them. I don't know what characters they play.
Who would they play?
I don't know.
I want them to be like somebody that's usually serious, like Mr. Fantastic in The Thing or something.
Yeah.
But instead of CG, it's Martin Short just with orange paint.
Yeah.
like.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be really funny. Anyways, I feel like there's things they can do with Secret Invasion that they could do.
Yeah.
Loki season 2.
I'm very excited
I'm
about that.
excited for that for sure.
I'm because again, I think that'll obviously tie into the Quantum Mania stuff a little bit. So I'm excited about that one. I really don't know anything about the Marvels. Other than oh hey, it's these characters and
coming together.
That's
I got nothing.
Same thing with Ironheart. Like I said, I stressed my my slight disappointment with the character, but it's just like, this is Iron Man. We've already seen that, so I like, it could be really good. I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm just saying, like, I've already seen that character. Yeah. So I'm not as excited about
100%.
that.
I don't understand why they're making an Echo TV show.
I don't know either.
Like, she was interesting in Hawkeye, but, like, I don't think she deserved a whole new show. Like, I guess they're going to deal with her, like, I'm sure Fisk is still alive. I guess it's all about, like... But then you have Daredevil coming out, too, so it's like she can't, like, fight Fisk.
Yeah,
I have no idea
I don't know. It was, like, the character was never... Like, okay, comic book-wise, the character was never... that great a character. Like, it wasn't so, like, it was like, oh, Echo, okay. Like, you move on. It was like just another, it was like Elektra Light. It was, that's what it felt like. So yeah, this one I'm just kind of like, okay.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Super excited for Agatha, just to see what they're gonna do, because I thought because Catherine Hahn, I think anything she's in is just a standout, and I think she could really carry a show. I just don't know where they're gonna go with it. Same thing with, like I said about Echo. It's like, I have no idea where they're gonna go with it. I'm way more excited for Thunderbolts than I am for Captain America. New World Order. And 100%
opposite.
Oh, really? Okay, so my thing about Thunderbolts, and I have 2 words for you why it's going to be amazing. Florence Pugh. That's it. I don't give a shit about anything else in that movie. Give me Florence and okay, 2 more words. Sebastian Stan. Give me those 2 people, and I think they can carry an entire movie. I think it'll be amazing. But why are you excited for Captain America?
Number one, I'm curious to see a Captain America film again. Hopefully they can, keep the train running. I thought that the first one was okay. Like, it was introductory. It was okay. I was disappointed in the Red Skull. I was just expecting more out of him. Not that the actor was bad or anything. It was just like, I was expecting more of a, like, just really good fisticuffs between the two of them. And then I feel like since Winter Soldier, they've just gotten better with the Captain America movies. Like, better in the sense of, like, they've been good. Yeah. With Winter Soldier being
the best,
hands down, I think the best. So I hope it's there. The reason why I'm disappointed with the Thunderbolts is not got nothing to do with the cast. The cast looks like it's just going to be a zany zoo of, like, basically Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad kind of thing. So that's basically what it kind of looks like. But what I'm disappointed with the Thunderbolts is the original Thunderbolts had such a cool concept of, like, these were hardcore bad villains, not like misunderstood people. These were bad people that decided, let's pretend we're good. Yeah. And then the decision to try and, like, okay, let's keep this up, and we're the Thunderbolts, and we're this, the superhero team, and then the rest of the team eventually kind of breaking away from the main one, which was Baron Zemo. Yep. Breaking away, like, that concept was so much better than this. Just seems like you're grabbing a bunch of people that are kind of like edgy, on the fence, like, throw Punisher in there too. Yeah, you might as well. And it's just not the same thing. It's going to be, they're using the Thunderbolts name. Yeah, it's going to be a completely different thing than what the Thunderbolts are. I
think I agree with you. The original concept of the Thunderbolts was very much that. I think what they've been doing with the modern takes on Thunderbolts has been more, like you're saying, leaning more towards Suicide Squad, where it's like government run, but forced into fighting the good fight, even though they're bad guys, right?
But even those teams have, I'm gonna say, and sorry anybody that's on the Thunderbolts, they have superheroes, like people that actually have
powers.
like strong powers, whereas this is just like my power is my wit and the fact that I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, like it's still an interesting group of characters. It just, if they would have called it something else.
Like, what other name? I don't even know what else they could call
I don't
them.
know, but it just,
Shield 2 or something.
yeah, like the Thunderbolts is just like you took the name and kind of the concept of the more recent run on Thunderbolts, but like if you really wanted to do a fun movie, the original rendition is so much better.
Here's what I'm picturing, and of course this is complete speculation. I could be completely wrong, but like you have Julia Louis-Dreyfus as their Amanda Waller. Obviously, she's a little more snarky and whatnot.
Yeah.
She basically says like, "Hey, U.S. government, you need heroes you can control. Avengers didn't work out, obviously, because they all died.
They were messed up.
They all died, and you can control them. I'm going to give you an Avengers team, like basically Dark Avengers, that you can control, and then you do whatever you want with it. Harrison Ford, apparently, you're Red Hulk now." Type of thing.
Yeah.
But then what you're gonna find is like characters like Ileana and Sebastian Stan, Winter Soldier, are gonna be like, you guys are like U.S. agent and other people are too dark for us. Now we need to fight within ourselves to stop you guys, type of thing. And like you'll eventually have a split of like, Black Widow and Winter Soldier become gooder, and then you have like Red Guardian and U.S. Agent getting badder, type of thing. That's what I'm picturing. But again, complete speculation. Who knows what the heck they're gonna do?
But don't know, because they, like I said, like it was easy to go take the Avengers makeup and say like, oh, compared to the Avengers comic, this makes sense. This makeup of this team compared to the roster of the comic book doesn't make any sense. There's a couple people there, but for the most part, it's like I think the most like powered character out of the ones that were in the initial list was Ghost.
Yeah. I shout out to Ghost. I think you were robbed for what you could have been. But anyways, we'll see what happens. Random shout out to Ghost. Last one we have on our list, and obviously there's more that they've teased, but this is just what
Daredevil.
Daredevil. Yeah,
So excited for that.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Daredevil. So excited. Glad they brought. Keep the fight up. I want to see the entire cast back. I don't want to see them dumping on anybody. I would like to see the entire cast back because they did it right in the first one, and those people are still around. You don't need to replace them. They all want to be in it. Stop dicking around, Feige or whoever it is. Yeah. Just bring them back and continue on because you had a good thing going.
Do you think it's going to be R? Have they announced if it's R?
I haven't heard. Yeah. But I think they're gonna lose. I think they're gonna lose the what made the Daredevil show on Netflix so good if they aren't.
Yeah.
Like 100%. It'd be like taking Deadpool and saying, "Hey, this is PG now."
Yeah, you're gonna sew his mouth shut, just like the shitty Ryan Reynolds original. So there you go. No. But yeah, like it has to be R. Like if they go PG-13, it's just not the same, man. Like I don't know what you're doing, Yeah. I'm excited for that one as well. Yeah. Last one on the list that's listed. Again, they have other stuff coming out eventually, but Blade. Yeah. Apparently, this is a dumpster fire on set right now.
Really?
Yeah, apparently just like they can't get it going. Mahershala Ali is like, I don't know what you guys are doing. Like, what are your, when you hear that, what are your thoughts?
I was excited about the actor.
Yep.
I liked the character. Like even the Wesley Snipes movies, I enjoyed in the sense of like they were Marvel and they were in the Marvel universe, but they were kind of like in their own little like whatever was going on, with the other guy. It always felt like they were like their own little independent thing.
Yeah.
And they were cool as hell. They were badass and for their time, and I was excited about it. I loved the idea of like the actor that they picked. I was like, yes, let's get a Blade movie.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure about Disney making a Blade movie with a bunch of vampires, but sure, okay, let's give it a try. But to hear that it's a dumpster fire, doesn't really surprise me because that's just how things are nowadays.
Yeah.
But it's also unfortunate because I think they got a good actor and a fun character to play around with.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the rumors I've heard. So we'll see what happens. I think Blade is such a interesting character, especially nowadays, because he's a part of the Avengers. Vampires are way more prevalent in the MCU than they've ever been, and it's just like they're trying to make him more and more of a bigger character. So I'm just curious to kind of see what they do with him in the MCU. Another big announcement that I forgot to put on this list that I was going to throw at you, and it kind of ties in Phase 4 and Phase 5.
Yeah.
So the main person on the next Avengers movie, the main director they had is Destin Daniel Cretton, who did Shang-Chi. So how do you feel about that? So my initial thoughts is
So I'm looking forward to a lot of CGI.
a lot of CGI, because this is the hard part, right? Like rewatching Shang-Chi, the first half of that movie where it's all just kung fu and like really it's
Great.
really tight, great movie.
Yeah.
The second half of the movie,
I felt like I was watching a Jackie Chan movie.
Yep. 100%.
That's what it felt like. I was like, this is awesome. This is a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
And then it just like goes full CGI. The worst, you know what's even worse than the CGI in that movie is how often they slow-mo everything so that they look deeply into each other's eyes for an unnecessary amount of time. Like, it's wild.
They must have got that from Zack Snyder.
Yeah, a little bit. So how do you feel about him, like, directorial kind of going into the Avengers? I don't know.
For an Avengers film, I don't think it's... no.
Like, at least the Rousseau brothers kind of proved they could do group stuff with Winter Soldier and Civil War.
Well, just plain and simple, they could prove they could make a good movie. Like,
That's fair.
Just that simple. So I mean, this to me sounds like, you know, like, I mean, I hope he does a good job. The first, like you said, the first half was just amazing. The stunts and the fighting choreography was just like outstanding.
Yeah.
And it was enjoyable. It's just unfortunate that they decided to absolutely kill it with like 30 minutes of CGI straight. You know?
It wasn't even 30. It was like an hour.
It was like an hour. Yeah, it was unfortunate.
Okay, so yeah, that's kind of wrapping up Phase 5. Other than, do you have any like crystal ball, out of left field, random character shows up or random thing happens? Like, are mutants are coming? Like, what's your big like prediction for Phase 5? You think will like throwing out there?
Sorry to most of them. Like, I know that we had Ms. Marvel throw out the M word.
Yeah.
I don't I don't think we're gonna see that in 2023. I just don't.
No way.
I don't think we're gonna see the mutants. I don't think. At the best, which would even surprise me, they hint at it again.
Yeah, like maybe the Marvels and Loki, maybe. Like, yeah.
I do think you will, and I think maybe this is more of a hope.
Yeah.
This is filtering into more of a hope.
Yeah.
Is that I think you get the drop of the Fantastic Four.
You think so? Which one?
I want to say, to me, it would make sense the Quantum Mania.
Yeah.
Because there are ties for the Fantastic Four to Kang.
Yeah.
So that would kind of make sense. But if they don't, the only other one I could see them landing in is Loki.
Yeah. No, I can see that too. Like, they're like randomly floating through dimensions.
Like somehow or some kind of dimensional thing. Yeah. But I think a lot of those ones, the character groups that you haven't seen, and again, that one was more of a want. If I'm like taking my heart and crushing it in my hand and throwing it to the side, I don't think you're going to see any of them in 2023.
That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're going to see. I'm hoping that they lay some good foundation for where this next track of movies is going, and if it's not going to culminate, which I think everybody's gotten their head wrapped around, it's like, oh, it's got to culminate with a 2-part ending and a big fight. I hope they don't do that. I hope they've got a couple story issues going here with the secret invasion. I mean, the Quantum Mania, you got Secret Wars, but you could also have a Kang Dynasty, which they've already named that, both of those shows being things. So I think there's some things there to say, like, hey, we don't need to have 10 years of movies, 20 some odd movies leading up to an end. Like, we can just do like 4 or 5 or 6 or even like 10, and then like wham, slam them with a good ending. So my big call is all this crap you keep seeing on the internet and everybody talking about, like, oh my god, they're gonna drop this, they're gonna do that. I don't think you see any of it in 2023.
Yeah, just a bad year for them. I think swinging for the fences. We're getting Ghost Rider. We're getting. I feel it. I feel it. I don't know why. I just have a
Nicolas Cage is
coming. Could you imagine?
Oh my god. Well, he is technically. Technically, he could.
He could. Here's what you do: is you make it a Robbie Reyes, and then Nicolas Cage is his mentor. You do like a No Way Home and like a combat. But I think like maybe Agatha. You do like a little mini. Maybe that's like the teaser.
That would be interesting.
The
That'd
teaser
be
at
fun.
the teaser at the end is like Brotherhoods of Midnight or something
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, that'd be fun.
And then if not, for sure Blade. Like they're gonna have because they already hinted Black Knight with Jon Snow there, and then Blade, and I think you get Ghost Rider, and I think maybe Werewolf by Night shows up. Like you have like they have like a Halloween theme section they can play with now, and I think we're gonna get a Ghost Rider, guys. Believe in me. Believe with me.
Well, I mean, speaking of that, like, when I was going to ask, like, okay, so we got up to 2024 here.
Yeah.
Is it going past that? If you had your pick, who would you like to see them bring in to this next phase, this phase 5? Whether it's just like a quick introduction, like you said, Ghost Rider, obviously that would be a good one.
I still think they should do like a Young Avengers or Champions, like you're saying. Just get all the young people together. Like I still love Kate Bishop. Of course, I said Florence Pugh. You get the girl who's playing Cassie Lang, and then you somehow get Billy and Tommy in there from Wanda. Like you have a Champions Young Avengers thing. And sorry, you can have randomly Hulk's son now. I mean, obviously he's never was Young Avengers, but you could have him potentially be the Hulkling. Actually, I guess with Secret Invasion you can get Hulkling as well. So I still think they should do that. But that's my thought. What about you? What's your...
I agree with you on the Champions side of things. I really think it would be interesting to, like, if you really want to dive into it. I mean, you've already got to start with Ms. Marvel. Why don't you introduce some other characters? Like, if you're a little afraid, here's a gimme.
Yeah.
Miles Morales. Here's a gimme.
Dude.
Okay, Miles Morales.
Could you imagine?
If you just did it, it's a gimme. Not that I'm overly, like, want to see him shoved into the Marvel Cinematic Universe already, but I mean, if you wanted to build up, you could do pretty much what you did with Infinity War with the Champions by slowly introducing each of these individual characters, or most of them as you're going along. You already are with Ironheart. You've already got a Ms. Marvel. You can keep going. Nova's coming out. Yeah. Like, you've got those. And then if you slow draw that into a Champions movie, that'd be great. That'd be super awesome.
Could you... they have to do Spider-Man 4, right? Like, I'm so excited for Spider-Man 4. Like, I don't know... There's so many things they could do with it, and so curious to me what they decide to do. I'd be a little bit sad if they, like, Tom Holland's no longer with us, like, we're moving on to a different Spider-Man. I'd be pissed at that. But, like, imagine if Tom Holland, kind of like the Ultimate Universe, where he, like, gives Miles Morales his start, and, like, kind of like that type of thing. I think that'd be way more hype than just kill off Tom Holland, put in Miles Morales type of thing. But
and it would be a little weird having, like, a Tom Holland and a Miles Morales essentially around the same age at the same time. It'll be a little weird, but I agree with you on the Champions thing. I think you've got the foundations, and you can start building towards that. And it would be a different market because it's a kind of a younger vibe to it. So it would be different. You have some very interesting characters there. I mean, you've already got Kate Bishop. You've already got obviously Stature is going to be in it somewhat.
We'll see what happens.
In Quantumania. So, like, you've already got some of the foundational characters. Just finish it off.
Yeah, you got it, guys.
Do a Champions.
Don't worry, they'll still disappoint you, though.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
They'll find a way to disappoint us.
There were a couple of characters that I was like, oh, they should make a movie out of this. And then they've, like jumped it out there, and that's what they're doing. I was, like, hyped, like, do Nova. I like Nova. Nova's like Green Lantern, but Marvel's stupid version. But it's good.
Is it confirmed?
Yeah, it's confirmed. Nova's got a confirmed movie.
In what?
Coming out past 2024.
Oh, okay.
I would imagine. But Nova's. So you got Nova. So that took the wind out of my sails. I would like to see, and again, very much in the same line as the Daredevil. Bring the Punisher back, and make sure it's John.
Oh, it has to be.
It has to be him, and bring him back, and like, instead of trying to tie him into the Daredevil and everything else, like, if he shows up in Daredevil, that's cool, but, like, tie him to some of the villains and some of the stuff that he did in the actual comic books. And Disney just, like, get crazy, be like, man, this is gonna be the R-est movie that we've ever done. I would love to see that, because I felt like 2 seasons of it was just not enough.
No.
And he was so good as that character.
Would you rather him in Captain America or Thunderbolts? Which one do you prefer?
Having
John Bernthal.
Ooh.
I don't know which one would be better.
I mean, he'd fit the Thunderbolts, but what was very interesting that they played on in the comic books is that and this always made me laugh. The Punisher, okay, kill you at one point for jaywalking. Like the Punisher.
Yeah.
Big Captain America fan, loves is his hero, like idolizes Captain America.
Yeah,
the guy that would never kill you for jaywalking. Like he'd probably help you across the street.
Don't worry, son, take the crosswalk next time. You know,
that would be.
He could be the villain. And then it's all up to Sam. Like imagine John Bernthal's like, oh, you could never be the real Captain America. He's too good. And then it's all about Sam stopping him and being like, no, I am Captain America, bitch. Like, listen to me. That'd be pretty hype.
It'd be pretty cool. But what I really, 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 really would like to see is I would like to see the Spider-Verse come full into play, and more about the actual Spider-Verse story where you had Morlun. And you had, Morlan's family. I'm drawing a blank on their name right now. Them coming in and that whole really I mean, you've already started kicking the door open. Like, just boot the door wide open and get all these other Spider-Men
people
kicking around. Like, I know you're doing there's the Spider-Verse cartoon, but I think if they dived into that comic book storyline with Morlun and the rest of them, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Have you heard about what's happening with the Spider-Verse? You want me to tell you?
I've just seen a lot of Spider-Man in the trailers.
No, sorry, not the animated one, but just the Spider-Man property in general.
No.
Apparently, Sony made a deal with Amazon, and they're making their own. I know you're rolling your eyes right now. Apparently, they're making their own line of like everything except Spider-Man. So they're making Madam Web. They're making Spider-Woman.
I heard rumors about the Madam Web. I know they got a Craven show coming out.
Craven's coming out. Like, they're doing everything except Spider-Man, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I don't know. Like, it'd be interesting to see if, like, Sony and Amazon do their own thing, and then at Marvel's still like, no, we still have Tom Holland, so fuck you.
But to your credit, you've been pounding the table for this comic book for a while. Strange Academy.
Dude, it'd be so good.
Whether they did it as an animated, similar to Spider-Verse, or they decided hey, no, screw it, let's just do a live action show. I think would be, because I went in and I read the first 3 or 4 issues.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is even though it's it's got that younger feel to it, like the Champions kind of feel, it's still very entertaining.
Yeah, 100%. Just what they do with the magic, right? It's very much like you have so much possibility of what you could do and what villains you could pull and all that stuff. So,
and again, that would fit. I mean, okay, you don't want to spend all the money on it. Do it animated.
Yeah. I think it'd be better animated, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No, I think you gotta. Yeah, there's so much stuff they could still do. So do you think you're pretty positive looking forward to Phase 5 then? Like, what's your general sentiment?
Talk to me after Quantumania.
Okay, fair enough. We'll start to you in March.
I think based on the fact that they've got kind of a nicer mixture of some newer stuff with whatever they're doing with the Marvels. Yeah. Agatha, Agatha. I'm going in with a little warmer on, because WandaVision I was just like, no, 0, and then I watched it, I was like, no, that was actually pretty good. So Agatha's I'm kind of expecting a little more out of it than I did, but I think overall it's a better mixture of some things that have already been successful and some newer stuff. So. I'm positive, but as long as it's Disney, as long as Feige's there, they're gonna do something that will disappoint me and a whole bunch of other people. Some others than more than others, but I think they'll drop the ball somewhere, because they do.
They do.
But at the same time, I think they might knock it out of the park with something like Agatha that you just don't even see coming.
100%. And give me Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider.
So those are our thoughts of Phase 4 recap. That's our look ahead of Phase 5. Let us know what you guys think of in the comments. Make sure to follow us wherever you found us, and we will see you all next time.
See ya.